View from the Gutters, episode 96. Welcome to View from the Gutters, the comic book podcast where each episode we discuss a collected edition, trade paperback, or graphic novel, and then recommend and vote on the book for the next episode. Warning: the discussion portion of this show has massive spoilers for that book. On this episode, we discuss Sovereign, and to skip ahead to the recommendation section, skip to 101.52. I started playing this today. I started playing the Skyrims.
Oh, nice.
I cracked it. I had the day off. So.
What kind of character did you pick?
I'm a dragon man.
Cool. Nice.
Argonian.
So it mostly just
Lizard
revolves
people.
around me running around the world going, I'm a dragon man, and then killing things.
There's a book in the game that you need to read. It's called The Lusty Argonian Maid.
I wish the books gave you stat bonuses.
They do. Some of them do.
Okay. Because I haven't run across
Not
one
all
yet.
of them.
Okay.
I
Because I
got
was like,
teased.
this seems like it should be a thing in the game, right? Like, I'm reading all the books, and I'm like, there's nothing is happening.
I got teased because I would read the books, and I was like, they're funny or
Yeah.
Tease you
interesting.
for that. That's an appropriate
They're
thing
also
to
like
do.
2 pages.
Yeah,
It's not like reading a
exactly.
whole book.
Yeah. And so I would stop. It was there was one in the tutorial or something. It's like, oh, this is really cool. You can read the book. And I was flipping through it and checking stuff out because it's my first Elder Scrolls game I've ever
Yeah.
played. And the people I was playing with were like, oh my God, I can't believe it's taking you 20 minutes to go through the tutorial.
Those
I was
people are just
well,
assholes.
Not really. It's because I'm
Well, first of all, it takes
everything.
you 15 minutes just to get to the part where you get to pick your controller up for the first time.
yeah.
And
Oh,
then
no, you can twiddle the thumbstick and look
and then you
around.
run very slightly forward, and it's like, here, move along this linear rail for the next 20 minutes.
I mean, it's no different than
And then-
Half-Life.
Finally. it
Like
gets-
when
yeah.
Half-Life 1, when you could walk around during the opening credits, that was considered revolutionary.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And Half-Life 2 started with you in an elevator and somebody talking to you for 8 or 9 minutes, and all you could do was look around.
Yeah. And that was 20 years ago. Kind of feel like we should have made some progress since then.
Like 14.
Half-Life 1?
Yeah, wasn't that 98? Or was it 96?
I think it was 96. It was
Shit.
definitely while I owned a Super Nintendo.
Okay.
Because I was not, because I've owned one my whole life, but it was definitely during the Super Nintendo era.
You were born in 1996?
Half-Life 2
No,
was a
the NES came out in,
launch
the Super
title.
Nintendo came out in 91.
Right.
So I was 3.
Okay,
when it came
right.
out.
For some reason, I got onto N64.
No, 96 is the N64. I think it came out, I think Half-Life was around the same time that the 64 was coming out. I have memories of
Yeah.
Ocarina of Time and Half-Life in the same year.
Well, Ocarina of Time came out a little bit after the N64 did. It was 97.
It was 97, yeah. Mine came with it. So.
Okay, so it's only been 17 years.
Just saying. A little progress is on. And the thing is, I'm playing Skyrim, and I'm like, man, this game feels fucking dated. And then it's like, well, it was 3 years ago, so I guess some progress is made since then.
Interesting.
And the animations in that game
Yeah.
is definitely the worst part of that whole game, is whoever animated
No, the worst part
game.
of that whole game is that there are 5 people that do every voice in that game.
Yeah. I mean, I don't listen to them talk. I have the subtitles on, and when someone starts talking to me, I put my controller down and I go look at the internet until they're done, and then I look up and there's a little arrow on my map, and then I go there. Because I really don't give a shit about what anyone has to say in that game. It's all mystic babble bullshit, and I could write that in 4 seconds. It's not difficult. That's
Welcome, traveler, to my humble.
That's
yeah,
literally
that's
what I play the game for.
That's the laziest part of game making, though, is make up a fantasy place, make up a fantasy name, go to that fantasy place. It's all just names and places.
I
And it's
would
just
like you to kill 4 rats in my
Yeah,
cellar.
it's the great war between Gelgamthon and Krialagar, and you're like, oh, cool. Who are
That's funny because that's
guys?
literally half the book that we just read.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just all the made
Right.
up names.
And when I'm reading, that's what I'm after. But when I'm playing a video game, I go to play a video game. If Tetris was this book, I would hate Tetris. But it's not. It's Tetris, and this is a book. And that's that's the problem I have with video games, is people are like, play this video game. I'm like, you mean watch this shitty movie I don't want to watch? and then I put the controller down and walk away.
Fair, but we should get started.
Episode. There, we're done. That was it.
All right, good job,
Game over.
everybody.
Have a good one.
This book is not Tetris. We're going home.
Time to go home. Episode 96. I'm Andrew Chard.
I'm Tobiah Panshin.
I'm Kayleigh Fleeman.
And I'm Cade Reynolds.
And we're going to talk about Sovereign this week. But
Yes,
first,
we are. But first, special announcement. We're making some changes at View from the Gutters over the next couple of months, December and January, and some interesting things are going to happen.
Yeah.
And as part of that, we kind of want to know where you guys are at with the show.
Yeah. It's kind of hard to make changes when we're like, what are the parts of the show that people like? Like, what if we eliminate all of those? So we kind of want some feedback. And
so we've created a listener survey.
Yeah.
It's got like a dozen questions.
456 questions.
Not that many questions. And so, you can go to the website. You can fill out our user survey or listener survey if you'd like to. And at the end, you'll get a little special thing to say thank you from everybody at View from the Gutters. And it would really help us know what we're doing right and what we're doing wrong.
Yeah. And we want to continue to make the show the best we can possibly make it. And a lot of times we're just kind of guessing. It's like, I think people like this. Like, people listen to it. That must mean they like some of it.
Well, more people listen to this episode than this episode.
Right. Why? And then we don't know. We have no idea. So we're like, what did we do different? And
because Joe and Toby yelled at each other
the whole time. And everyone
and somehow
loved
people
it.
knew about that before listening to it. And somehow psychically like honed in and downloaded the episode a lot of times. Yeah.
Well, it's all over the live journals right now.
Oh, yeah. And just all over them.
Our MySpace page. It's all about that.
Spoiler warning. One of the questions is you get to rate hosts on which one of us has the best beard.
Yes.
And you also get to pick who your favorite guest host is.
Yes.
So those are very important questions for us to know the
Kayleigh
answers
wins
to.
best beard.
Yep.
Yeah.
Kayleigh wins favorite guest host.
Well, I would not be surprised. We're curious who you want to see come back, because I know there's like fan favorites.
Yeah, we've had a bunch of people on the show. Eric Mannix and Matt McGinnis haven't been on so much. We've had some guests, especially on Back Matter recently. Yeah. And we're just interested to know who you liked.
Yeah, who you want more of.
So we can get them back here.
We'll make them do more shows then.
Absolutely.
We'll force them to. We'll bribe them with hot chocolate and beer. Mostly beer.
Hot chocolate beer.
That sounds delicious.
Horchata beer, though, is really good. I don't know if you've had it. It's delicious.
Horseradish beer?
Horchata. It's like a rice milk.
I had a wassail the other day, which is like mulled cider and whiskey mixed together, and it's warm, and it was delicious.
That sounds amazing.
It was awesome. So I highly recommend that as a winter alcoholic drink of choice. But
my alcohol, or I guess it's not alcoholic, but my winter drink of choice is my super special secret recipe hot chocolate.
Which is Swiss Miss and marshmallows and a splash of milk.
No,
Tears
marshmallows
of
are disgusting. But I will tell you one of the secret ingredients.
Chocolate.
But
cayenne pepper.
All right.
So good.
I'm a big fan of eggnog with whiskey, mulled cider with whiskey, apple cider with whiskey. Pretty much anything with whiskey.
Actually,
and it's warm. I'm pretty into it.
Chocolates in Seattle has come out with a Chipotle spice hot cocoa. That was actually really good.
Sweet.
Yeah, it's not unusual to have a little bit of something spicy.
Yeah.
The original hot cocoa was spicy anyway.
Yeah.
But did it have whiskey in it?
It could.
I mean,
you basically kind of laid out the basis of your thesis, which is whiskey goes with literally everything.
It does. Yeah, I love it with cream corn. But we're talking about Sovereign today.
We are, and we're talking about how it is not like Tetris.
How in no way it is. I'm going to leave that intro on because
you should absolutely do that.
Everyone loves to hear me bitch about video games. Yeah, no.
If you like hearing Chard bitch about video games, tell us so on our listener survey.
Yeah, there's more content in that vein coming up soon.
I hope so.
I'm doing some video game shows. They're going to be a little ways out. I gotta go back to making Top of the Stack and some of that other stuff first before I can launch new shows. But
that's a theory.
That's the theory, yeah. But yeah, so I pitched it. I read it again today.
Yeah, and what did you think?
I still dig it. I reread the fifth issue, which I'm not sure if I read before I pitched this. I can't remember. The one with the lady that lights on fire. I'm not sure that I read that one before, but that was definitely my least favorite issue of all of them this time.
It kind of was out of the vein.
Yeah, and I get it because it's very Game of Thronesy in that like it's multiple sets of characters, and like each book is going to introduce a few new characters, and so I get it. But it was totally that whole new character. Like, what I liked about the other issues was it would go back and forth between point of view characters, and this one was kind of like a interlude issue.
Well, I have to guess they're probably going to do a thing where, like, once in a while they'll introduce a new point of view, and that issue will be kind of devoted to that, and then it'll be kind of mixed
Except
in.
the series is done.
No, it's not.
No, this is just volume 1.
It's volume 1. It's ongoing, man. There's going to be way more.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't end in any way, so why would it be over?
Well, on Image's website it says it's done.
No, it's still ongoing. Next issue's already been solicited, as far as I know, or is on. They're on a slight break, and then they're coming back.
Because issue 5 it said came out in April, and now the trade is out, but that's it.
April seems like a long time ago for this.
This was kind of a long time ago.
Because I was reading it on top of the stack. I guess I could go back and look at what episode I
don't remember, because I got to the end and I was like, where's the rest? And I looked up Image's website and it's like, oh, that is it.
As far as I know, it's not done. And in so much as comic books are never really like done coming out, like they'll always go back to it. It's like they might not put anything out this year, but who knows if they're going to come back to it or not. We read a book on Out of the Fridge, Colder, that the second volume is finally coming out. The first volume came out 5 years ago, so...
I mean, that's fair.
We read S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah.
And the last 2 issues are going to come out sometime. They're done.
Yeah.
They haven't been released yet.
Yeah.
But I think it's interesting that you made that Game of Thrones comparison because my brother Adam was cooking dinner and I was standing in the kitchen talking to him while he did it and describing to him what this book is about. And he's like, oh, it's very Game of Thronesy. And I was like, well, yeah, I mean, sort of, but not really. And he said, like, well, what I mean is if Game of Thrones wasn't a thing, this wouldn't exist.
Exactly. And that's kind of one of the reasons I wanted to talk about this, because I know that Toby and I have talked about this off mic before, but we talked about basically like every once in a while there's a book in a genre, in a specific genre, that kind of shapes the copy fiction of that for the next couple of years. Like in the 70s, the Lord of the Rings copy fiction was huge. Like we had stuff like Sword of Shannara, which is like basically Lord of the Rings again.
Yeah.
And there's like lots of books that came out that are very like Lord of the Ringsy, and there's sci-fi books too.
Even Wheel of Time is kind of Lord of the Ringsy.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the party of travelers that all get together and like it's about the journey, and they're going to a specific place. Where like Game of Thrones is not really about a journey at all. Like no one's like questing somewhere.
No.
Like some people move from place to place, but like the political intrigue at Casterly Rock is like a large portion of Game of Thrones. Like no one's really
the Red
traveling.
Keep.
Is that what
You
it
never
is?
actually see Casterly Rock in the books or the TV show.
Is that the Lannister?
Yeah, that's the Lannister seat of power
Yeah.
out in the West. We've never seen that.
The throne is what I'm talking about, wherever the Iron Throne is.
Yeah, that's the Red Keep.
Okay. It's been a while since I read the books, but they're not really traveling. It's about like the intrigue between characters. It's very much a character piece, and Adam's right. Like this is very much,
and it's the multiple viewpoints
that
you kind of bounce around from.
Yeah, and that they're like the journey so far has just been to get them to the same place, and now that they're all kind of in the same place, the story is like beginning to unfold.
And of course, they're introducing new point of views as well at the same time.
Yeah, which is another thing that Game of Thrones does. I mean, it's mostly because Game of Thrones kills off most of its characters. They have to introduce new ones.
Wow, and I open up the Image website, and the description of the first issue is an epic fantasy in the tradition of Game of Thrones.
It says it in the trade now, too.
Yeah.
Like, it's like right on the front cover.
Which is weird because, like, except for that thing, like I said to Adam, like, there's nothing particularly Game of Thronesy about it, like in terms of what the contents of the story is about.
Yeah, there's definitely some like archetypes that are used in both, like the kind of like the horse lord, nomadic horse people is in both, and then the 5th issue was the most Game of Thronesy to me because it was very much like a Daenerys moment, like the dragon can't be burned type of deal, where she's like, I've had enough, and like I'm gonna be this strong female leader for people who have been like enslaved their whole lives, basically.
So issue 5 came out at the very end of July.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's been like 6 months.
Okay.
Or not quite.
I may be wrong, but I thought issue
4.5.
6 had been solicited, which means it's going to come out within the next 3 months, but maybe I'm wrong. That will be on Preview's website. You guys can probably look that up as fast as we can. But, I mean, it seems like there's going to be more of this, and I hope there's more of this, because I dig the world that they've created. I mean, that's the thing.
Yeah, that was the thing that most interested me.
Yeah.
Is just like, you've got these people from these different areas, and like, it's got this very historical perspective.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just, and there was a fantasy people that lived in a fantasy kingdom, and they went from this fantasy place to this fantasy place, and then this thing happened that was this word that we made up that has like 7 apostrophes in it. It's like, they're in basically like Turkey. The Mongols have taken over. You've got Islam that's like moving in, but then you have this like traditional cultural people who are from this outcast who are coming in, and then you've got like the Europeans who are coming in and talking to them, and you've got like the minaret domes. Like, it feels very much of a time and a place, and that there's a history.
Yeah.
And I really loved all the backstory, like at the end of each issue with like, and then the first emperor did this thing, and then his son was kind of this weak-wristed administrator. I don't mean weak-wristed. That's a pejorative. Sorry about that. But then like his the grandson of the first emperor, like he conquered a bunch more land, and then he fought with his brother, and the brother got killed, and he was assassinated in the throne room, and then the guy's son was this guy. Like, I loved all of that stuff.
Yeah, the first time I read it, I didn't read the text pieces, but this time I did.
The thing I thought that was really cool about that was to me, it kind of felt like the appendices and the Silmarillion in Lord of the Rings, where you don't have to read it. But if you are really into that sort of thing, like, it's this great insight into the history. And it was done very much so in a style that was like, if you kind of want to know a little bit more about what's going on, then read this thing. But if you just want the story, like, we'll have kind of quotes in between chapters, which I thought was really cool, and gave you like this insight into the cultures, and people will sort of use exposition in order to explain things so that you, the reader, can understand. And I thought it was really well done. Like, I really got a feeling for not just the world that the authors had created, but sort of this history of the world and the future of this world that can possibly exist. So
yeah, there was kind of almost like 2 historical perspectives in the book. There was like, this is what happened in the lineage of kings, and then you also have this like mythological history to the world. Yeah, where it was like, before humans there were giants, before giants there were gods, and like the lineage of that DNA traveled down basically to these specific people who were kind of
before men there were gods, before gods there were giants, before giants there were dragons.
Oh yeah, there was dragons too. I forgot about the dragons. And like that kind of like lineage passed down in some way or another, and that's why there are magic people. Yeah, and I thought that was cool. I was like, oh, cool. And that sets up the 5th issue where it's like, oh, this is a magic person. Yeah, I didn't know it. Like,
there's a ton of really great world building that happens throughout this comic. Like, it feels sort of like D&D campaign setting-esque, but very much on the like real historical kind of end of things, where it's like, it's all a bunch of like real history kind of mixed up. And then also we're going to layer on this like veneer of magic. Yeah. Which I guess is kind of Game of Thronesy a little bit, because if you really read into those books really deeply, it's like there used to be magic and dragons and like crazy swords and gods and all this stuff. And at the beginning of the series, like, nobody believes in that stuff anymore because it's not really around. Yeah. And then as things go on, like, you start to see it around the edges, like, slowly working its way into things.
The Red Lady, Melisandre. And like, and that's kind of what I liked about this over Game of Thrones in some ways was, like, I'm a big fan of magic. I love it when there's like, you know, like one of my favorite parts about Avatar: The Last Airbender is it's basically like elemental magic divided by bloodline, by nation. Yeah. So like each nation has its own like magic that they're known for. And this kind of had that same feeling in a lot of ways. Yeah, it's like there's these specific disciplines of magic and it's like broken up in a lot more structured way and a lot the magic is deeper than the magic in Game of Thrones, because like you say, it's like almost this faux veneer of magic, because it's like it's there, but it's not really there. When people
it's interesting because it grows slowly. At first, it's like, oh, this is a magic sword. It's really sharp.
Yeah,
and then it's like, oh yeah, I totally like cast this spell and this thing happened. That's kind of weird. And it's like, oh shit, ice zombies.
You're right. Well, you get ice zombies in the prologue of book 1, so it's
but you don't really like recognize them for what they are. Like it's a long build up before you really start to see the shit happen.
Yeah, and I guess it's funny because people will describe Game of Thrones and they're like, yeah, it's like a fantasy world like Lord of the Rings, except no magic. And I'm like, there's dragons and ice zombies and magic swords and a dude like meat puppets another guy around, and then there's like, you know, all kinds of magic stuff. But you're right, it does build really slowly.
So apparently, Paul Maybury, the artist on this, after issue 5 was completed, he went off to do a comic called Valhalla Mad with Joe Casey.
Oh, cool.
And so this has been on hiatus, and it's not clear when it's coming back. But the thing that I'm reading is from when the last issue came out back in July. So they may have announced something since then.
Yeah, by the time you listen to this, there might be 100 issues of this book.
Okay.
Yeah, totally.
But at the moment we're recording it, we have no idea.
And that's all the Googling I'm going to do. So
yeah.
If you want to know more, look it up yourself.
Yeah, it was just from what I found on Image's website, like, they didn't say anything about it continue. And they were just like, it's came out these days, and here's the trade, we're done.
Well, hey, if Four Eyes issue number 5 ever comes out, maybe issue 6 of this will come out.
Yeah, to be fair, though, Image has the worst website of anyone really in the world outside of GeoCities. Like, I hate their website. It's awful. And I love Image, man. It's a company I love, but get a better website. Just fix it. It's awful. I hate it. And so there's tons of, like, really hard to find information on that website sometimes. Like, I'll dig through and, like, I can't find these trades or whatever.
Like, we'll talk about a book on the show, and then when I go to, like, type up the notes, I want to, like, have a little bit of more information on it. And, like, I just can't find it on Image's site.
Yeah.
Like, I'm looking and looking and looking, and it's like, where the hell is this book? What's going on with it? Like, how many issues was it? Who worked on it? What is it even about?
Well, it's also their storefront, too, which really bothers me because it should be, like, more streamlined if you're trying to sell digital books. But
right.
Anyway.
Good times.
Cade, with the exception of not having an ending, what else did you think about this book?
So I wanted to start out this by saying there was nothing I didn't like about this book, but there were some changes I would have made. I feel that there were too many characters given right at the start. I feel like it would have been better for me if we got to look at, like, maybe 2 character point of views to start out with and then add them on gradually, whereas instead in the first 2 issues we're given 6 different point of views.
Yeah.
And I guess I felt like it was too much right up front, and I don't feel that 5 issues was enough to tell what they were telling. Or at least for what we read. This is going to come again to the thing I mentioned with Four Eyes, where it was like, I don't quite know where they're getting yet. Mm-hmm. And maybe when it's done, it will be more cohesive.
Yeah.
But I did feel that a lot of it was too front-loaded. I would have probably done 2 in the first issue, 2 in the second issue, while giving glimpses of the first 2, but not much. And then, like, let's see more where those characters go, and as they meet new characters, add those point of views.
What I liked about the first issue, which I think is the only issue that I really have a pacing problem with, because it was the first one I read, and I, like, wasn't used to the pace of the book. What I loved about it was it was 3 mini issues in the first issue. Like, they're in no way connected. Like, you have the mini issue about the horse people, you have the Luminari, and then you have these explorers crossing the sea, and you don't really even know that they're in the same world. And when I was reading it for the first time, I was like, I'm guessing these are all connected, but, like, I don't actually know that yet.
The second issue also does that, but with characters that weren't in the first book too. So it's
I think that, well, it just adds more characters to those 3 point of view characters. So you have the
and
Luminari
that's what I mean,
lady.
I feel like there are too many right up front. Because both issues 1 and 2 are doing this.
And I guess if I'm going to compare it to Game of Thrones, though, like there are an eighth of the number of characters in this book that there are in Game of Thrones in the beginning. So like what I liked about it was it felt like a streamlined Game of Thrones in some ways.
Yeah. Like I hear what you're saying, Cade, and I definitely agreed with you on Four Eyes, but in this case, like it's not a problem that I had.
Yeah, and
I mean, well, and that's why I started out by saying there was nothing I didn't like. I just probably would have done it differently for clarity's sake, because I did get a little confused at the beginning. And from what I remember about Game of Thrones, in the beginning it only started with 2 or 3.
No, there were a
it went
bunch.
back to Ned pretty regularly.
He was pretty heavily featured in the first book, but there were still a bunch of there were 8 or 9 different viewpoint characters in the first book.
In the prologue, you meet characters you never see again. Then you get Bran. Then you get Ned. Then you get Sansa. Then you get Arya. Then you get Jon Snow. Then you
Tyrion
go back
in
to
there.
Ned. Then you go to Tyrion. Like, there's a lot of characters that you get not only introduced to, but you get a specific chapter from their point of view.
Yeah.
And so...
But it does all center around the same kind of thing. In the beginning,
right,
it's all characters who are at the same place.
Right.
Doing... So you're roughly seeing, okay, this is happening, then this is happening, then this is happening.
Yeah.
And then as you get comfortable with the characters, they start going off.
Yeah.
And this one is all starting with them in different places, so
And then
you
they
don't really
end
quite
up in the
know
same
what's
place.
going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see how it might be a little bit of a rough start.
Yeah,
but
and
it
that's
didn't
what
really
I'm
bother
saying
me.
is that when I look at it as a whole, once it's finished, maybe it won't be bad at all.
Yeah.
I really can't tell that for sure.
I like the pace of this book a lot. Like, it's something that I normally complain about in a lot of fiction is like I have pacing problems. Like, it's something I'm like really aware of because I have a terrible attention span. So if something like loses me in the pacing, like I notice it right away. But I really liked the way that the story progressed, and also they had time to take a step back and tell you a little bit about the history of the world. There's the issue that opens with like explaining the 4 schools of magic,
which I thought was really cool. I love the real and the unreal, and the way that the 4 like planes that orbit our reality influence
the
it
branches
in different ways.
of the world tree, and like
like I thought that was all super cool. I did have my own problem with the clarity of this book, which was in the art style. And I like the art style. It's similar to other things that I've enjoyed, like the Rabbi's Cat. I think it's pretty similar in a lot of ways, but I don't feel like it was necessarily the most effective at supporting the story that was being told. And specifically, like the encounter with the undead shark is really confusing.
Yeah.
Like it is very, very hard to tell what's going on. Like it just looks like this gray mass. Yeah. Until he like holds up the picture and he's like, "Oh, it's a decaying shark," and you're like, "Oh, okay, I guess that's what it was."
Yeah, and I think that's like part of that is stylistic choice because they don't want you to know what it is because it's like, oh my god, this mysterious thing, and like he's the only one that knows, so like you gotta get into his head. But yeah, the lack of detail is like the one thing that I have a hard time with in this art.
It seems like there's a certain amount of like action that's supposed to be happening, and the art feels kind of staticky.
I could see that. I love the surreal nature of the art, though.
Yeah, like I really love the artwork.
Yeah.
I just don't know that it necessarily complements this specific story.
I love it when...
I think it complements the world.
Yeah.
Well.
Yes, I agree with that.
And I think it's the best possible art choice for, like, stills that exist in this world.
Yeah.
But it is hard to follow in action sequences.
Yeah.
Like
I think you hit it best there when you just said the stills. Like the stills of the world, this is perfect.
Yeah, because it gives that, like, it's super flowy. It's like it has this surrealism to it. But even in scenes I feel like should be clear where they're not trying to be like obtruse, like when the Luminari are watching the dead rise again and they're trying to stop that. Like, I feel like that's a really obvious scene. Like, they're trying to make it pretty clear, like, yeah, the dead are rising. They need to put them down. But the art doesn't really make that very clear. The urgency isn't there.
Yeah, it's something that I wonder if it's like they don't have enough page count to devote really to the action panels that they need. Because it's a dense story that they like want to be able to give you all the information they need. Sometimes it feels like
I think that's right.
They should add some panels in between. You know, like to make the action a little bit more fluid, it would need a few more panels. And I don't know if that means like extra page counts or just breaking the panels into different layouts. Because some of the like abstract panel layouts that he does, I really love. Like the one where there's like a close up of the luminary with the big nose whose face you never really see.
Yeah.
And there's like smoke billowing out of his pipe. And
which is
like,
an amazing panel.
It creates like the border of the next panel. And it's like some of those abstract panel layouts are really, really awesome.
Yeah, they're super cool.
But I wonder if like more diagonal panels in the action scenes or like break it up a little bit differently. Like if that would somehow clarify it.
Maybe. The comic that I always think about in these cases is actually Revival. Because the big problem that it seemed like we had was that the art was too clear.
Yeah.
Like there was no real sense of mystery. Everything was kind of like lit in this very neutral way where it was all the same brightness. Like you didn't get that really good contrast of like light and dark. And like this thing is obscure and you don't quite get to see it right.
Right.
With the exception of the scenes that had actual fog. Those ones were...
And I think that this is suffering from the opposite problem where things are a little bit too obscure. Like I want a little bit better look at these things because I don't feel like I quite have a sense of them or a sense of the motion. Like when the Khan rises from his grave.
I love that scene.
Which is like, it's supposed to be this really cool, really powerful scene, but like he just kind of like stands up and slowly lurches at them. And like, I don't feel like the art necessarily conveys the dynamic energy of that scene. Like the way that people are moving, the way that the Khan is attacking them, like it feels very staticky.
Yeah.
And it didn't quite convey the sense of urgency that I would have wanted to feel.
And I think I interpreted that a little bit differently than you did because in my mind it's not urgent. Like he just kind of gets up and there's time for them to like have a conversation. Like while he's walking towards them, like everyone in the crowd is like, what, is he alive? What happened? Is he dead? And he just kind of like Night of the Living Dead, like lurches at them. And then they see his face for the first time and you see the way they've colored his eyes is like all green. And you see the girl, the Luminary, the young girl who's a seer who sees like what he actually looks like the host of
that's
demons.
Crazy.
That was cool.
I like that there's a little bit of space in that he doesn't just like get up and run at them. You know, there's like a little bit of room in there and it makes it kind of like it's a different kind of zombie feel.
Yeah. And that was something too. Like I feel like zombies are so tired now. Like I'm so sick of them.
Played out,
my
man.
God.
They need more sparkles.
Yeah, for sure.
We could get some glittery zombies. I would be like a lot happier with that.
But no, this I feel like this is it's like a zombie story, but not like it's these reanimated dead, but it's really cool. It's really well done. It feels fresh. It feels new.
Well, unlike a lot of zombie stories, like we know why they're getting up, right? Like that's a lot of the mystery of some of the stories is like, oh, is it a virus? Is it a disease? What happened? And the Luminari are there, and it's like, no, it's demons. Like these are possessed. It's like an Exorcist story meets a zombie story.
Yeah.
And
in a fantasy setting.
That's one of the coolest things that I liked about this story was this, like, this is only going to get worse. Like, it's not just the dead.
Right.
Like, soon the living will be possessed as well.
Yeah.
And, like, you're in a city filled with corpses.
Yeah.
Like, you have sown the seeds of your own destruction.
I love that.
So cool.
Yeah. The setting is what kept me reading the book.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
The art and I think the colors are brilliant in this book, but the art was definitely intriguing. Like it's why I picked the book up because I was like, oh, I haven't seen anything like this really. Like I really enjoyed it. And that first issue, although I had some pacing issues with it, like was enough to get me hooked on the world. That I was like, I want to know what else happens here.
Yeah.
So I really hope they do more of this because like the world building they've done so far has encouraged me so much on like what they're capable of that like I want to see the whole world. And my biggest complaint about the book so far, my only real negative complaint is there's no map. in the book. I fucking love maps. I love maps. I love opening The Hobbit and there's a map in there. Like, that's one of my favorite things ever. You know, the map of Westeros that's in the Game of Thrones books.
Oh, I flip back to that thing all the fucking time.
I love it. I love maps. I want a map in this book. That's like my big,
The crappy thing about the Westeros map is, or I guess the world is called Athos?
Yeah, the continent is Westeros, right?
Yeah, because there's Westeros, Essos, and Southos.
Yeah.
I believe, the world of Athos, and I could be completely wrong on that name. But for a long time, like, you had bits of maps, but you didn't know how they all lined up.
Right.
And it took a very long time before you had, like, a whole sense of, like, how all the different pieces of the world fit together.
Yeah.
And that was really cool.
Yeah.
But I kind of like that there isn't a map in this series, at least not yet.
Yeah.
Because so many of the elements of it seem reminiscent of things from the real world that making it a discrete, like, this is definitely a fantasy world, would, I think, take something a little bit away for me. Like, I like the fact that I'm like, is this our world? Is it kind of like our world, but also sort of different? Is it a completely different world? Like, the fact that I don't know the answer to those questions keeps me interested.
Yeah.
I feel like that's why you don't have a map of Pan Am in the Hunger Games.
Yeah.
Because it's
probably in the
US.
book they say it's the U.S.
Yeah.
So I don't know why you don't have a map.
They like say it, but I think that
They don't
or
say
at
it in
least
the
they at
movies
least
ever.
they at least allude to it in the books.
They call the mountains outside of District 12 Appalachia.
Oh, do they?
So it's like, it's very
Oh, okay.
specifically in the book anyway. It's like, this is the U.S.
Right.
They never say it in the movie, I think, for reasons.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I get what you're saying, Toby.
Yeah,
It's someday I hope to get a map of this place.
Yeah, I
love
that would
maps.
definitely be cool. Like, I would love for them to do a whole long series, like do 60 issues.
Yeah.
And then put out like an omnibus edition or like a couple of collections.
Yeah.
And like at the end have an atlas.
Yeah.
With like here where all the places are, like this is how they line up, like this is the paths that the different groups of people take. Like that would be really cool, but make it kind of like a little bit after the fact.
Yeah, I can see that.
Because there's definitely a part of me where like when I'm reading a series and there's a map, I'm always like flipping to the map to be like, okay, where are they now?
Yeah.
And it distracts me from the story a little bit.
I can see that.
But
Yeah,
I mean,
like
maybe that's
that.
just a personal thing.
I love it too. I can't not look at the map. I'm all about maps.
I actually got an Android app called Westeros Map, so I could just like keep it open on my lap and be like, okay, so they're going south from here. They're about right there. Awesome, cool. They're crossing the river. Is the river on the map? It is. Cool.
No, I love maps. So I don't know. It's just those extra touches that make me really enjoy fantasy, though.
We were talking at the very beginning of the episode, or maybe right before we started recording, about Half-Life 2.
Yes.
And one of the things I loved
I was
about
talking
that
about
game.
Half-Life 1.
Well, we were talking about Half-Life 1,
Oh, okay.
but we mentioned Half-Life 2.
Right.
Anyway, you start that game, and like there are old signs that are in some kind of Cyrillic alphabet, and you're not sure like where you are. Like you're somewhere in Asia, probably. But you don't really know how much time has passed. You don't know where you are in the world. Like, realistically, like, you could be anywhere. You have no idea.
Right.
And I really like that. Like, I enjoyed the fact of feeling like I have sort of an idea of maybe what's happening in terms of, like, where I am in time and space, but I don't know.
Right.
And it could be something really wild.
And I like that when it's, like near future.
Yeah.
Kind of stories where it's like, what exactly is going on? Like, what did I miss? I like that.
You get kind of the same feeling like in the early seasons of Lost, where they're on this island and they're away from everything, like all the technology and stuff. Like they don't have flashlights, they don't have guns, like they don't have any modern technology. It's completely like just Stone Age stuff. Like they're putting together spears with rocks. And then somebody shows up and they've got like walkie-talkies and rifles and they've got a boat with like an engine on it. And it's like, oh my God, this feels so weirdly dissident.
Right.
Like I love that feeling.
Yeah. Setting in this kind of stuff makes all the difference for me. You know, if the authors put the thought into the detail of building the world, so much so that they like know exactly where everything is. The world is so well thought out that they can write appendices about the world. Like, you know that the author has spent a lot of time in this world. like in their head.
Yeah.
And I think that leads to good storytelling because they've already got all that out of the way. You know, they know all the answers already. So now they're just telling you a story about some people set in this world that they've created. I think that's cool. I get that feeling from this book a lot. And I've never read anything else by this creator. I don't know if they're a brand new comics creator or not. And I would have totally overlooked this book had I not been reading like every new #1 that was coming out. And so I'm glad that I caught it.
Yeah, I've talked about Dungeons and Dragons and playing D&D quite a bit in the past. And one of the things I love about role-playing games as a game master is just there's a world that exists. There are people in that world who are doing things. Some of them have agendas that are going to interact with your character. What are you going to do?
Right.
You are a person in this world. The things that you do are going to affect other people. And maybe they're going to like you and maybe they're not. And maybe some of them are going to go, you're a problem, so I'm just going to kill you and get you out of my way. And so they're going to come after you and you have to deal with that. And just following consequences. Consequences beget consequences beget consequences. It's one of the things I love about Rick Remender's work in the Marvel universe.
Yeah.
Is that so much of it has been focused on the idea of this thing happens. What are the consequences of that?
Right.
What follows from that?
Well, it's something we saw him do in Fear Agent, too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Was like the decisions that Houston Heath, is that his name? Heath Houston? The decisions that he makes have massive ramifications on his own story, but also on everyone else's story, too. It's something that
it's one of the things that
really
Remender's really good at.
Yeah.
And it's, a thing I like in role-playing games, and it's a thing that I like in this kind of story where it's like you have a world. And it's kind of like the opposite of the chosen one syndrome.
Yeah.
Where it's like, you're the chosen one. You're going to do this thing whether you want to or not.
Right.
And everything is just going to push you in that direction. No matter how much you kick and scream and don't want to do it, you're still going to end up doing it. It's like, no, that's bull crap. Like, you've got a person who's doing a thing, and then suddenly a crazy thing happens, and they're going in a completely different direction than they thought they'd be going in. And what do they do in reaction to that? Like,
right.
That's cool storytelling to me.
And it's something that gets talked about a lot in the world of video games, because most video game designers in the modern video game era, AAA titles, tend to tell the story that way. Like, you are character X, and this is your story. Like, these are the events that are going to happen to you. And so we've scripted all of this stuff into the game, and when you show up, they're like, oh, you're the chosen one, or oh, you're the hero of time, or oh, you're the Dragonborn. And it's like, yeah, but I just kind of want to be the guy that, like, wanders around and, like, just finds stuff. Like, can I be that guy? And it's like, no, we have this big plan for you. And it's like, yeah, but we could just not do that. Like, what if we didn't do that? And that's the beauty of role-playing games is, like, you're sitting down with, essentially, the creator of your world, right, with the games master, and being like, we're going to go over there. And it's the game master's job to be like, okay, let's do it.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
And so that's, like, why a lot of people really love role-playing games.
I feel like this whole conversation really illuminates a lot of the bullshit you put us through. Just like,
Kayleigh and Joe and Audrey.
I see that you did that thing. Guess what? Now you have a demon on your tail. Good job. Oh, you did that thing too? Guess what? Now your uncle's here and he's going to force you into marriage.
Now
that shit has happened in like the past three times that we've played?
Yeah, something like that. My GMing style is a thing happens. What are you going to do about it?
A thing happens. It doesn't matter what you do about it. There are consequences.
Yep.
Well, it's realism, though, right? Like, you're not playing in a vacuum.
Yeah.
Like, that's kind of I mean, like, that's the hope, the someday hope for video games for all of us is, like, when I do a thing, like, it means something.
Yeah, like, my hope for video games in another 10 or 20 years or whatever, however long it takes, is like
50 or 100.
You're in the game. Like, you're at the very first scene of the very first game, and you're in a room, and you pick up something from the room that, like, the designer had no idea, like, you were going to pick up that one thing.
Right.
And then that ends up somehow having an effect on the game down the road because somebody's like, hey, you stole my locket.
Right.
Like, and why did you do that?
And the thing is just like, the game over syndrome in video games, right, is something that I think will be hopefully a thing of the past in a lot of the ways we think about video games, because it's basically like, oh, you failed to do exactly what I wanted you to do, so you got a game over. But in reality, it's like, GTA 5 is my example of this, where it's the second fastest game over in a game I've ever gotten. Where it puts you in this situation. It's like, you're a bank robber. You're walking into the security room of the bank, and it's like, hey, are these hostages? And I'm like, fuck them. And I shot them, and it was game over. Like, it ended my game 30 seconds into the game, and was like, nope, try again. Your choices are irrelevant. And that takes you out of the game experience so much. But what I think would have been interesting is if I chose to shoot that character, like, that has some other ramification down the line. Like, your character's in prison longer because that was a murder. Like, you murdered a guy. And so your character's old when he gets out. So just little things, that you could do in game design that essentially would get you out of you didn't trace the line exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
You have a game over now.
We know that people want to be able to make choices. I mean, that's why they've been promising that for decades.
Right.
In every Peter Molyneux game.
Oh, yeah.
In
Mass Effect,
all of the sim games, in Mass Effect, there's always this idea of your choices have consequences,
right?
And usually the consequence is, well, in this cutscene, this one character is in the background instead of this other character,
or you get this ending cutscene versus this ending cutscene,
right? And they've never really been able to deliver on that idea of the things that you do matter.
Some games get closer than others,
yes.
and I think that's what we're all kind of excited for. I think, but I know I am. It's cool in Saints Row 3 to just be like, I'm gonna just blow that building up, and then it's not there for the rest of the game. That's cool. I like that kind of thing. So I don't know. Enough about video games, probably. Yeah. But
do we have other things to say about Sovereign? Yes.
Go for it, Kayleigh.
Hold on. I know that I have other things, so I didn't want to wrap it up.
Oh,
but
you've got to pull out your Lisa Frank diary.
Yeah, my Lisa Frank diary. This is for those who cannot see. My Lisa Frank diary is where I keep all my notes for whatever I'm reading.
It's like
pink
rainbow puke cheetah.
Yeah, it's pretty adorable.
It's like somebody took a plush painting of a cheetah and just vomited rainbows all over it.
Turbotron has its mate.
Okay.
So we have matching comic journals.
All right. Way to make us look like not professionals, Kayleigh.
Way to also have incredibly neat handwriting.
Yeah, it's a problem. Another thing I wanted to talk about was not just in the world being, clearly having history, clearly being a fleshed out, thought out process. The characters are as well. All of the characters have unique personalities where even if they're kind of railroaded into this sort of role of this person is a monk and this person is a king and things like that, they clearly have personality and they clearly have ways that they operate that aren't just stereotypical stand-ins for whatever role fulfillment the author currently needs.
Yeah. They're also different, too. You couldn't move... something that's, I think, problematic when you read a large ensemble cast is, you could move one character into another character's role and it wouldn't really make a huge difference in the story because they're all kind of, vaguely similar or not defined enough to make a huge difference. It's well, what's that guy? He's a cop. But what's he like? He's like a cop. And it's okay, great. But in this book, it's you have the kind of hot-headed younger brother of the horseman who,
Well, you've got three princes,
right,
who are all very different,
right?
And which one of them ends up on the throne is going to make a huge difference.
Yeah, and you see their backstory and how they were raised and what their father was like, and I think the insight into that's really awesome. I love all three of the Luminaries are vastly different characters.
Yeah,
you have the young seer, you have the kind of headstrong, just why are we helping these people?
The paladin,
warrior paladin with the sweet crystal helmet or whatever he wears. Yeah, there's a lot going on in these. I like the kid who's keeping the scientific journal too.
Yeah, he's sort of a very fresh faced I'm right off this boat and I'm gonna explore and find out things. But he's much different than the younger Luminari character.
Yeah,
even though I read it as them being very similar in age, but they are distinct, and that's something that's really nice to read into.
Yeah, I like how curious he is and how like sure of the world that she is, even though it's her first visit to that city too.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's her first time outside of the one town that she grew up in.
Or the dimension that she grew up. Where is the walls of silence? Like, what is that? Like, I love that.
I
That's
assume that,
just
like,
a
they call
place.
everybody else lowlanders, so I
Yeah.
assume that they're, like, up on a mountain somewhere.
What if they're in a sky city? You don't
Oh
know.
my god, that would be cool.
I mean, that's the kind of thing that I like about this, is it's just so vague in some regards, but it just like Star Wars. The very first Star Wars was like that too, where when you meet old Ben for the first time.
Oh yeah, he's like,
and
I knew your father during the Clone Wars.
And you're like, what the fuck is that? Yeah, no, like, and they never tell you, and you're like, but I want to know what that thing was. Like, he was a great pilot, and then it's like, oh, they're gonna make a trilogy of movies that's set before this. We'll probably see the Clone Wars. Nope, we're leaving those out of the movies. Great, but
movies.
But they made the incredibly amazing CG animated cartoon that
made a
tells the
couple-
story of the Clone Wars that was really, really good.
yeah. However, it reminded me of that, where it's like, oh, they're from the walls of silence, and it's like,
This is a complete aside about Star Wars. I just found out recently that Topher Grace from that 70s show did a 85-minute edit of all 3 prequel movies.
Yeah.
Compressed down into like 1 hour and a half film and showed it to like 50 people and can never release it.
Yeah.
And everybody who's seen it is like, this is amazing.
I'm not gonna lie, I did something very similar when I was in college, where I was like, let's just cut out all the bullshit and then put in the parts that I can watch, and then like cut out.
Yeah, apparently at the time he was like, I want to learn how to edit, so
Yeah.
I'm just going to edit this thing for practice and then show it to some people.
Exactly what I did. That's how I learned to edit, was editing episode 1 down into a 25-minute movie.
That's about what it needs.
Yeah, most of that movie is bullshit.
Yeah.
Midi-chlorians.
Yeah.
Never speak those words again.
Pod Race. Great video game.
That
Shitty
was-
movie.
Oh my god, that was like my favorite video game.
Episode 1 Pod Race
Yes.
is a
It was
fantastic
so good.
game.
Oh my god.
Never played it.
It's awesome. It's
You are
exactly what you
missing
think it is. It's pod racing.
I figured it
throughout
was
the
like Diddy
galaxy.
Kong racing, but with pods.
It's very similar. It's awesome. You can like upgrade your engines and drive as all the different pod racers that
For
they
some
introduced
reason,
in the
like
movie.
that, like late '90s period seemed like a golden age for racers.
It was a golden age for video games in a lot of ways, because it was pre-2001 when they decided, let's just make all games exactly the same for 10 years. That'll be fun. No one will complain about that at all.
Also, let's make them brown.
Yeah. Cool. Epic Story White Guy Brown Shooter Part 8 is coming out soon. You guys all excited?
I thought that just came out.
Yeah. I can't remember. I can't keep track of them.
Maybe it'll come out again in 3 months.
Blends the borders between movie and game.
Oh, God. If I read the words like incredible graphics and like epic story on the back of another video game, like I'm just going to vomit on it. It's literally the least important part about video games. I'm just cranky because I've been playing Skyrim all day.
That'd make anybody cranky.
Yeah.
Dragonborn.
Yeah. I'm the dragon guy.
The dragon guy.
Yeah, I'm like a reptile dragon man. So I just run around the world being like, I'm a dragon man, and then
Is this like when you used to sit in the vents in Arkham Asylum and go, I am the knight?
yeah, I kind of just like live my own video game reality when I'm in the game, because it's my world and I'll do what I want. But yeah, the best part of Arkham was Arkham Asylum, the first one. Yeah, I borrowed it from Joe. I think I was just playing it at Joe's and you guys were there, and I was just crawling around in the vents, like crouched down as Batman, like flipping back and forth, and my cape would like swing around, and I was just like, I am the knight. Literally the best part of that whole game. Nothing else was really that good at all, though, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Send the hate mail to chard@viewfromthegutters.com. I don't know. You guys done? Speaking of Batman, I have a birthday story to tell.
Oh, God, yes.
Yeah.
I want to hear about your awesome birthday.
So-
Okay, but before you tell this,
Yes.
on Chard's birthday, I posted an image to
Yes.
his Facebook wall,
Yeah.
which was Centaur Jeff Goldblum
Yeah.
saying, believe in yourself.
Yeah. Which is epic, and I love Jeff Goldblum, as you know from the last episode, so...
And I just wanted all of our listeners to know that that was a thing.
Yeah. You guys Google search that image of Jeff Goldblum.
I got it off of Tumblr.
Oh, there you go. That's where
There
all
can't
of
be
it-
that much stuff on there, so you should be able to find
Right.
it pretty easily.
Yeah.
Are you using Tumblr now?
No.
Oh my god, I'm so excited. I'm so proud of you.
I got linked from Jamie McKelvey's Twitter.
This is how it begins.
Yeah.
And so it begins.
I feel like a mother like watching her son like leave for college right now. Like I'm so proud.
You're about to enter a larger world.
I have literally been on Twitter before or Tumblr.
Tears edging my eyes
this
right now.
This is the part where
I'm
you're
so
Luke
proud.
Skywalker and you're about to leave Mos Eisley for the first time. You're about to enter a much bigger world.
Fuck all of you. I'm going to go sign up for Friendster right now. Reopen my MySpace.
Yeah.
Can you even sign up for Friendster?
I don't know.
Yeah. You're leaving the Shire for the first time. Samwise Gamgee.
Tell me about your birthday in Batman.
Yeah, so not on my birthday, which was Saturday, but a listener wrote in and asked me how my birthday was, so this is why I'm telling this story. My birthday was on Saturday, which was 2 days ago as of the recording, but like 5 days ago as of the release of this episode. But on Saturday, I just went out and got drunk with everybody.
Like you do.
Yeah. Zach and Chris, guest hosts on Out of the Fridge, and Chris was on our Invincible episode of this show.
Yes.
We went out, Sam Lucina and some peeps. We went out and got drunk, and it was fun.
I hope you went to the bar owned by the Satanic Dentist.
We did go to Cryptotropa, if that's what you mean.
Oh, I didn't see you there. I was there. I was there all day Saturday.
Well, I think I may have gone to Crypto on Friday. You know, they kind of blurred together. Not going to lie. For some reason, I can't quite remember what I did specifically on which night.
How weird.
That's strange. But on Sunday night, the Out of the Fridge guys and I decided not to record an episode of Out of the Fridge. Instead, we went to the Tacoma Cult Movie Club up in Tacoma because they invited us to go up there to do a very special screening of Batman 66, the TV show, now that it's been released. So we went up to Tacoma. In the back of a pool hall is a comedy club, and they turn off all the lights and put a projector down and play movies. And they do it, I think, twice a month. The next one's in 2 weeks. They're doing sci-fi cult movies. But this one was Batman 66, so we're like, we have to go for that. We love Batman 66. So Mannixon and Kelly and Allison and I all went up there.
This is the Adam West, the movie.
Yeah, but the TV show.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's the one where it's the Joker and Catwoman and the Penguin and the Riddler, they all team up.
Yeah, but we watched episodes of the TV show.
Okay, you just watched episodes of the TV show.
Did not watch
not
the movie.
Batman 66, the movie.
No. The Batman Adam West TV series. We started at the beginning. We watched the first 10 episodes or so of that show because they're 20 minutes each and they're all two-parters. That show was back-to-back nights back in the day. It was Wednesday and Thursday night. And so the end of the first episode was always a cliffhanger, and it would be come back tomorrow, same bat time, same bat channel. And then they would do the second half on the second night. So we watched.
TV was weird.
Yeah, TV was weird. So we watched that, and as hilarious as I remember it being, and I fucking love it. And Cesar Romero as the Joker is the greatest thing ever. We ate a bunch of bar food, and it was really cool. And they did an intermission where they did a raffle. And I didn't buy any raffle tickets for the raffle, but I did win the raffle because Kelly put my name in the raffle when she bought a bunch of tickets and put my name on one of the tickets, and I won the winning raffle. So I got a lot of sweet free Batman stuff, which I all have in the studio right now, which I'm showing to everybody. I got a Batman magic towel, which is a little tiny square magic towel that's folded up that I'll probably never open.
I got a Spider-Man one of those.
You don't have one? Do you have a bunch of magic towels?
I do.
That's an odd thing to collect, Kate. What are they?
Huh?
What are they?
You put them in water and they grow to be an actual washcloth.
Yeah, I have a Spider-Man one.
What?
And it is literally the shittiest towel I've ever had in my entire life.
You are welcome.
Most of all because when you're like, oh, I need a towel. I have this magic towel. Here, let me get it sopping wet first. Oh, wait, now I can't use it because it's already, as soggy as it could possibly be.
It's a washcloth. Okay, so in those things, it's kind of like paper.
Uh-huh.
Kind of.
I mean, part of it's open. I can feel the side of it.
Yeah, but then when you soak it in water, it, grows into a washcloth.
That's awesome. So that's cool. I didn't even know what that was. I got a Batman picture frame, which has the animated series Batman on a. Well, it's not even really the animated
and
series.
And it's got
Batman.
holofoil on it.
Oh yeah, it's super shiny.
When
it says Batman Gotham Guardian on it, and he's on a motorcycle. I got a Batman personalized diary with Batman on it, which is what I'm going to be using for show notes for Bruce Wayne.
Nice.
I'm going to put Matt's face over Batman on this one, and then put Bruce Wayne over the top of
We
Batman.
really ought to make up some Matt McGinnis face stickers.
I'm definitely going to. I got a 50-piece tower puzzle of Batman, which I'm going to do and then glue together and hang up in the studio. So we'll have that. He's doing a fight the power fist up in the air.
Good deal.
And the coolest part was I got this Batman the Dailies 1944 to 45, which is volume 2 of the Kitchen Sink Press reprints of the newspaper strips of Batman, and they're really cool. And so after I read these, I'll probably end up using them as a listener giveaway, because I hate owning comics. So I'll probably end up doing some cool raffle for this or something. So
awesome.
Yeah, so that was the exciting part about my birthday. Was last night.
That's really cool.
We went and saw Batman. So if you're local to the Washington region and you want to go watch cult movies for free, and they bought us popcorn, and then they had really good bar food, I highly recommend the mini corn dogs. They do it, I think, every other week or every 2 weeks, and it's free. You just go watch movies in the back of a pool hall in Tacoma.
If I wanted
Pretty
the details, sweet. What's it called?
Tacoma Cult Movie Club.
Okay.
We'll put a link up in the description if we can find one. We should be able to. Yeah, it was really fun. So they should have a listing of all the movies they're going to be doing on their website, or at least the theme of the night. And we're going to try to go. They do it on Sunday nights, which is our normal out of the fridge recording night. So we may not be able to go to very many, but we're going to try to go to the comic book theme ones. So it'll be pretty cool.
Awesome.
But yeah, that was an exciting birthday story I wanted to share.
Cool beans.
I won stuff. I never win anything.
Congratulations.
It's very exciting for me to win something that I didn't enter.
Yay!
It's pretty cool. So thanks to Kelly, Allison, and Eric for that. And yeah, I don't know.
I think I won a door prize one time. That's about it.
I won.
Is that Stamp Club? I went to Stamp Club when I was a kid.
Awesome.
Colored me surprised.
Yeah, right? It was at the library.
I'm surprised this wasn't a week ago at Stamp Club.
I was always very shitty at collecting stamps.
I get lots of free stuff, but I don't know that I've won anything. Yeah,
you won a bunch of Batman
I won
swag.
a bunch of Batman stuff, so I'm pretty cool. I'm pretty excited about that. But yeah, if you guys are all done talking about
I think we're ready to
video
move on
games,
to recommendations.
let's move on to Rex. Toby, what do you got this week for us?
So this week, I went to the comic book shop, and I looked through the shelves like I like to do, and I found a book that was put out, I think, last year that is collecting a webcomic that I read and really like. And I mentioned on our Empowered episode, but didn't ever pitch on the show. So I'm going to pitch it right now. And this comic is called Strong Female Protagonist.
Oh, yeah.
And it has a strong female protagonist, quite literally, in fact. It's set in a world where people start developing superpowers, and they're genetically based, kind of like the mutants in X-Men. Mm-hmm. They call them biodynamic people. But because they're all genetically based, the first generation of superheroes comes into existence, and they're all teenagers. They're between about 13 and 16.
Nice.
And so, this world's Superman is a 16-year-old girl who's got, invulnerability and super strength.
Sweet.
And she's called Mega Girl.
And is she the strong female protagonist?
She is the strong female protagonist. And what's interesting is the series begins when she's 20 or 21, and she has quit being a superhero on national television because she basically feels I just go around hitting things and smashing stuff, and that doesn't make the world a better place. I'm not doing anything to help people. So I'm going to quit being a superhero, and I'm going to go to college. I'm going to try and figure out how I can actually make a difference in the world. And the comic kind of explores her life in the present day, but it also flashes back to her kind of becoming a superhero and leading a super team for the first time. And it's a really interesting kind of exploration of the ethics and morality of being a superhero, and to what extent superheroes actually have a positive effect on the world.
Sweet.
And it's this really cool webcomic series that you can read for free. You can buy the book. It's $20. It collects the first, I think, 4 chapters of the webcomic, which is a couple hundred pages. So you can pick up the book. You can check it out for free online. It's a really cool series. It's still ongoing. And it's really interesting. It's one of those things that, like, it explores superheroes in a way that I don't think mainstream comics really are ever going to.
Cool.
Because it's an indie work, it can actually, like, change things and have characters die and change their status quo and not constantly kind of have to revert back to this is the brand.
Yeah.
And so it does interesting stuff.
Cool. Reminds me of when Adam Eve quits being a superhero and Invincible for a little while. But takes it much further.
Yeah, like they have the Wolverine analog in this series, who's a woman. Mm-hmm. And at a certain point, she's like, I'm just killing people. Like, I don't want to be that person anymore. I'm basically going to spend the rest of my life having surgeons cut organs out of me every day so that I can regrow them the next day and donate those organs because I'm going to save the lives of millions of people.
Nice.
Like, this will make a difference. This is how I'm going to make a difference in the world.
Cool.
And that's one of the things that actually inspires Mega Girl to, like, quit being a superhero.
Cool.
It's a really interesting series.
Sweet.
And that's my pitch.
Okay. I am bringing Hellblazer because I unabashedly want to gush about the TV show, which I understand the first episode is hard to get through. Constantine is not really Constantine. Give it another shot.
I've been giving Kayleigh shit about it.
He has.
Rightfully so.
But Joe did too. Like, a lot of people are like, oh, he's not Constantine. He doesn't smoke. Like,
that's not why he's not Constantine.
I'm just saying, your reasons are bullshit.
They're not.
Anyway, I want to read Hellblazer, Trade 1.
Whoa.
Yep.
The Delano run.
This is this is an adaptation of the Keanu Reeves movies, yeah?
Yeah.
No. Stop.
Yeah, they made him British and blonde for some reason. But
Weird.
It's the spirit of that. It's like, what if, John Constantine was British instead of American?
That would be a very different thing. I think.
Totally different. But yeah, I want the Delano run original Sins.
Sweet.
So,
yeah, they recollected that first trade, so it's now like 20 issues, which is really cool.
Gorgeous, yeah.
Yeah,
nice.
Great. And if you want more Constantine, we recently did Mike Carey's run on Constantine on Out of the Fridge, which is the longest run on Constantine, is the run that Mike Carey wrote, which is from like 175 to 120, I think.
It went back in time 55 issues?
to 220.
Okay. I was about to be very impressed.
Yeah, Mike Carey, dude, he thinks outside the box.
All right, cool. I mean, anything else that you want to say about John Constantine?
Well, for people who aren't familiar with him, he's a really great, interesting character. He's very self-motivated, or not self-interested.
Why is this series called Hellblazer?
Because he blazes through hell.
He spends a lot of time walking through hell, like an inordinate.
He doesn't just get like
hell.
Really high in hell.
No.
I'm disappointed.
Yeah,
he
smokes a lot.
High,
he does
a lot.
Do lots of drugs.
Does he ever like light his cigarettes with the fires of hell?
I'm sure that's happened. I'm almost positive that has happened.
For the record, I do know why it's called Hellblazer.
Mostly hell's not on fire in the Vertigo universe, though. It's like made of dead people bodies.
Yeah,
it's like very fleshy.
Yeah, it's kind of gross.
Yeah,
super gross.
But yeah, I actually have not read all of this first trade, so I've only read like the first 2 stories or whatever in it. But
the very first story in this trade was adapted for the TV show.
Yeah, it's episode 5 of the TV show, and they do a really good job of adapting it.
No,
they really do.
They really
and
don't.
You're so wrong.
I will talk to you about it on that episode because you have nope. It's like, what if John wasn't a huge dick and murdered his friends? That's the TV show.
No, but he is.
Yeah, but he doesn't.
Like, literally the same thing happens. He's a huge dick and he murders his friends.
He's not like...
Wow, spoilers.
It makes him look considerably better in the TV show, and he doesn't look like a huge asshole who's haunted by ghosts and then bricks a guy up in a wall. That doesn't happen.
You're just
So,
wrong.
I'm not.
The show's really good,
It's
and you should
pretty
watch
weak.
it.
It's already canceled.
because It's not already canceled. Oh my god.
By the time this episode drops, it will have been canceled.
Okay, it's not canceled yet. Production has been halted for season 1. They're still in talks for season 2. If you don't yet like the show, you can see that it has a lot of forward movement, and every episode is getting steadily better, and it should be given the chance to continue to grow.
Let's just can it now.
Let's
go back. Let's make.
God,
Okay,
I'm going
so
to
see,
put
here's
this
the
jar
thing.
in.
If it's a
Constantine 2
bad
with Keanu
show,
Reeves.
it's going to get picked back up. If it's a
Right.
good show, it's getting canceled.
Yeah.
That is how it works.
Yep.
That is how TV works.
Wait, is it on Fox?
No, it's on NBC.
Okay, maybe it has a shot.
Yeah.
Maybe. So, Cade, what is your pitch?
All right, so I brought a webcomic that I used to really like that has been put into trades, but you can still read it all online for free. This is a recommendation I've pitched before previously, as has Matt McGinnis on the show. And this is called Freak Angels.
By Warren Ellis.
Yeah.
Yes. Warren Ellis and Paul Duffield. I don't really... It looks like I should be able to say it, but I don't exactly know.
No idea.
So this is an Avatar Press book, and it is 6 trades long. It came out in 6-page blocks weekly online, and it has like 144 of those. But if you put it into actual like issues by page, it's anywhere from like 28 to 32. So I'm saying about 30 issues. That seems reasonable for the show.
Cool.
So it would be a little bit of a longer one, but it's really good. It's about some people in England, Whitechapel. 8 years ago, a flood happened, and these people have special powers and may have caused the flood. That we don't really know until later what exactly went on. I've only read the first 4-ish trades because I read it as it was coming out and then fell out. So I haven't read the last 2 trades to find out what actually happens.
Sweet.
But it was really good writing. It was Warren Ellis with really good ideas, kind of censoring himself, but in
it's him
a different
experimenting
way.
with webcomics as a format.
Yes, that is true. And I really liked a lot of the stuff he was doing with it. He was really exploring, like, I want to do a webcomic. I don't want to do it daily, and I don't want to do it weekly, but I want pages to come out as issues that come out every Friday. So, like, every Friday you would get a little mini story that went on for 6 pages. And it had really good character development. Has some sketchy topics, but such as mind control and, like, can people do things they wouldn't normally do while they're being hypnotized? Kind of sketchy stuff. Like, I could see where that could be a trigger for some people, but, like, he does it in a most of the time tasteful way.
Okay.
So you can tell if you've read other things like Transmetropolitan that he is censoring himself, but still grasping or getting to that Warren Ellis, my mind is a fucked up place and here's a story from it.
Sweet.
Yeah, I really like it. Read it back when it was current, but then stopped.
Is it done now?
It is done.
I believe it's been done for a while.
It has been.
I never read the end of it either.
Yeah, I read the very beginning of it, and I got very frustrated with the, like, wait, it comes out once a week, but I get 5 pages? Like, that's really weird.
Yeah.
And, like, for some reason, I found it really frustrating and just didn't keep reading it. And I was like, I'll just read the whole thing when it comes out.
I read it.
And I haven't gotten around to reading it.
I read it in trades, so I waited, because when it first showed up in the comic book stores, when I first read it. And I was really into Sweet Tooth for a while. Like, I still think it's a great book, but I was like really hyping that book a lot. And Troutman was like, why do you like that book? Just read Freak Angels. It's like a better version of that book. I was like, they're nothing alike. But that was Troutman making fun of me for reading good books, like he always does. But yeah. Speaking of tasteful, also, apparently I started a hashtag that I didn't know about on Twitter, which is now hashtag tasteful boning. I said that during an episode of Out of the Fridge, and thanks to Tony, one of our listeners on both shows, for starting the hashtag tasteful boning online. I forget people are listening when I'm talking, to be honest. Anyway.
They're not real people.
They're imaginary people. Yeah. They're just metrics, right?
Nobody outside of this room really exists. They're just numbers.
They're just metrics, right, Toby?
Absolutely.
Let's not talk about that. But I brought another image book, obviously. I was told by Brandon that this is going to be week 21, I believe.
Yes, 21.
Of my weeks of image. So thank you, Brandon, for letting me know again what week it is. And I will continue to ask as I forget.
You remember what episode it was, so I'm very proud of you.
Yeah, I did. That was a good one. I got lucky. We did have to look it up because
well, we wanted to double check.
We had to make sure.
I got psyched out.
I had to keep Chard on his toes by saying, "No, you're wrong. It's this one."
And then I was like, "Well, he's probably right because I have no idea what's going on." But yeah, so in the kind of the theme of this evening, I also brought a book that was originally a webcomic and is now a print comic, and it was originally published in Monkey Brain. And keeping with my short picks. For the holiday season, I have brought the short trade paperback Kinski that is now published by Image Comics. The trade paperback just came out. It's got a cute dog on the cover. It's like a Labrador on the cover. It is not about Kinski. I think he's like was he a famous actor or director or writer? Something to do with movies, I think.
I have no idea.
It's not about that. It's about a dog named Kinski. After that, famous.
Are you sure you're not thinking about Kinsey?
No, not Kinsey. It's Kinsey. In the book, they talk about he calls the dog Kinski, and then some other character is like, oh, like the from that movie, and I'm like, I don't know if they're the writer or the director, or the actor, or what's going on, or what's up. So anyway,
from somebody in show business that might be fictional.
I don't know who that. No, it's a real.
Oh, okay.
It's a real person. I don't know who it is though. Anyway,
I don't know either.
This collects the 6 issues. There are only 6 issues. It's a complete story. And it's written and drawn by Gabriel Hardman. And it's really, really good. It's billed as a crime story, but it is in no way a crime story. It's a story about a man and a dog. And this guy makes some weird choices with his life and is kind of like at a dead-end career and doesn't really know what he's doing. But he latches on to this dog that was abandoned by its owner, and he's like, I'm going to take care of this dog. This is going to be, this is what I'm going to do. Like, this will get me back on track in a really weird way. And that sounds like it should be really easy, but all sorts of hijinks ensue in the town that he's on, like, a business trip to, and that's when he found the dog. So it's like, how is he going to get the dog home? Like, whose dog is this? What's going on? There's all this weird drama. And I read it it's so short. Like, I read it so quick. It's just a really fast-paced, really fun, really interesting, introspective story into, like, this guy's a very personal story about why the dog means so much to him that he just met. And it's cool. And there are some crime elements to it. Like, he gets beat up a couple times because of weird criminal things that he does. But the story I would not classify as a crime story. But it's cool. It's good. It's black and white. It's like a smaller digest-sized trade. And it was really fun. So check that one out if you guys missed it when it was coming out from Monkey Brain.
Cool.
So, Toby, what would you like to read this week?
I'm going to vote for Freak Angels. Gotta love me some Warren Ellis, and I've never read it, so...
Sweet.
I should really get that under my belt.
Yeah. Kayleigh?
I'm going to vote for Kinski.
Sweet. Cade?
Strong female protagonist.
Sweet. I'm so torn because I really wanted to vote for Hellblazer because I wanted to have a knockout, drag-out fight with Kayleigh about it.
I really wanted to, too.
But we'll do that off mic.
Okay.
So, unfortunately, you guys are going to miss out on that one. Maybe we'll have a bonus episode where Kayleigh and I just fight about Hellblazer.
We'll just film a cat fight.
Well, yeah, Kayleigh will just beat the shit out of me and be like, you're wrong. And then stomping on my head. But I'm going to vote for strong female protagonist as well, because I'm into the webcomics and it sounds sweet, and I love superhero books. And that one sounds like it's got some cool stuff in it.
It also has a dog.
I love dogs. Added bonus. I didn't even know that was in there. No, I love one of the things I love about Invincible is it like gets to talk about stuff that mainstream comics never tackles. So I'm totally down. So let's read that.
Awesome. And if you're going to read it online, I believe it's strongfemaleprotagonist.com. We'll link to it in the show notes.
Sweet.
And I believe that the book covers the first 4 chapters.
Cool.
So awesome.
Remember, we're putting out a survey soon.
Yeah. When this episode drops, the survey will be out.
Sweet.
And if you fill it out, you'll get a cool little thing from us.
Yeah. Well, a little thank you. And also, if you have any hopes, dreams, wishes, ideas for episode 100, you should let us know what you want us to do.
There's only 4 more episodes.
We haven't really picked anything out yet, and we can't really decide on anything. So some suggestions would be sweet, and we'll see. We'll see what people say. So just write those on our Facebook wall or on our website, or email us at contactofviewfromthegutters.com.
Yes, do all of those things.
Do all 3.
Do a mail blast to everything.
Yeah. Twitter at us. Yeah. All
Tumble
that stuff.
log us.
Tumble log us.
On our Tumblr that is not completely dead.
No, it's still going. Kayleigh's reblogging the shit out of that one.
Yep.
My favorite part about Tumblr, I'm going to say this right now, is that I get to say reblog and not regram, which is the dumbest fucking word I've ever heard of.
Is that a thing?
Yeah, on Instagram, you regram things. That's stupid.
That is pretty dumb.
That's dumb. I hate that.
Reblog makes way more sense.
Yeah, it's cooler.
I know somebody somewhere has made this joke because I know I heard it, but every time I hear Instagram, I just think like grandma weed.
I just think of like instant graham crackers. And I'm like, they're already instant though, because they like you don't have to make them.
You take them out of the box and you eat them.
I'm like, what a stupid invention. Regular graham crackers are way better. That's where my mind goes, directly to food. But yeah, Instagram sucks. Go use Tumblr instead.
Salacious.
Boom. Boom. Pick a side. It's a war.
Hate mail goes to chard@gutters.com.
All right, we'll see you guys later. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you for listening to Me From the Gutters. I hope our recommendations have inspired you to go out and find some new comics you'll enjoy. Join us next time for a discussion of our selected title, but like every week, we encourage you to read all of the recommended books. In the meantime, please leave us an iTunes review. It really does help new listeners find the show. You can also like us on Facebook, subscribe to our YouTube, and follow us on Twitter at ViewFRTHGutters. Feel free to email us at contact@viewfromthegutters.com. Please send us any questions, comments, or recommendations you might have. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel as we post new videos every week. And thanks again for listening. And as always, keep reading.